Reaching God through devotion. The medieval period saw the emergence and blending of many cultures. This led to the rise of various new religious ideas. With the arrivals of the Turks, the Sufi movement came into India. It influenced both the Hindus and the Muslims. On the other hand, the Bhakti movement, which spoke of the union of the individual with God, also appeared in India. Impact of the spread of Bhakti movement in South India. The Bhakti movement began in South India in the 7th century by the Alvar saints who worshipped Lord Vishnu and the Nayanar saints who worshipped Lord Shiva. They believed that God can be reached only through true love, devotion, and complete self-surrender. The Bhakti movement rejected caste system. They carried their message of love and personal devotion to God to the various parts of South India in local languages, Tamil and Telugu. The Alvars and Nayanars both reached out to people of all castes and classes, including artisans, cultivators, and even the people who were regarded as untouchables. The Alvars and Nayanars also attracted many female devotees. These women devotees were courageous enough to challenge rigid social norms and became a part of these Bhakti movements. Bhakti saints like the Alvars and Nayanars gave no importance to expensive rituals and ceremonies. People from any caste, including the untouchables, could join the movement. They preached in the local language so that they could communicate with the common people. They sang devotional songs in praise of the deity, which touched the hearts of one and all. There were other great religious teachers of South India. Among them was Shankara, who was born in 9th century in Kerala. He was a devotee of Lord Shiva and is considered to be great because he greatly helped the revival of Hinduism. He preached the oneness of the individual and the supreme God. His philosophy came to be known as the Advait philosophy. He taught that only by attaining complete knowledge one can understand the true nature of God and the universe. Shankara, also known as Shankaracharya, established 4 maths or centers of learning and worship at Badrinath, Puri, Dwarka and Sringeri in the 4 directions in India. These maths have grown into important Hindu pilgrimage centers. A famous Bhakti saint of South India was Ramanuja, born in Tamil Nadu. He preached the message of intense devotion to Lord Vishnu. He believed in the equality of all human beings. Another Bhakti saint, Madhavacharya, who lived in the 13th century in Karnataka, popularized the worship of Lord Krishna. Another branch of Bhakti movement began in Karnataka under the Bhakti saint Basavana. This movement, known as the Virashaiva or Lingayat movement, believed in the equality of all human beings and equal treatment of women. It was against caste system, idol worship and all types of rituals. Bhakti movement in Maharashtra. In the region of Maharashtra, Bhakti movement spread from the 13th to 17th century. Bhakti saints like Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram and Gyaneshwar composed simple Bhakti songs in Marathi. These Bhakti saints worshipped a form of Lord Vishnu called Vitthal and believed that God resides in the hearts of all people, of all castes and classes, and can be reached through selfless devotion. These saint poets rejected all kinds of rituals. They believed in selflessly serving of their fellow human beings and in sharing the pains of others. Some other categories of bhakti saints like Nath Panthis, Siddhacharis and Yogis spoke about renouncing or giving up the world. They believed that God is a formless ultimate reality and one can connect with this universal power through meditation, yogasanas and breathing exercises. They believed that these practices discipline our mind and body and help us to reach out and connect to the ultimate reality. These groups of bhakti saints rejected all the rituals and ceremonies associated with religious practices. Bhakti movement in North India. In North India, Bhakti movement was spread after the 13th century by great saints like Kabir, Nanak, Tulsidas, Surdas, Ravidas and Mirabai. Kabir and Nanak stand out among those the most critical of the unjust social order and the caste system and tried to promote Hindu-Muslim unity. Tulsidas and Surdas were also Bhakti saints. Tulsidas composed Ramcharitmanas in Awadhi, the language spoken in eastern Uttar Pradesh. Through this work, he expressed his complete devotion to Lord Ram. Surdas, another Bhakti poet, expressed his devotion to Lord Krishna through his hymns and poetic compositions. Ramananda was a pioneer of Bhakti movement in North India. Among his disciples were Kabir and Ravidas. In fact, Hindus, Muslims, Dalits all became his disciples. Mirabai, a Rajput princess, became a disciple of Ravidas, a Bhakti saint who belonged to the untouchable caste. Through her hymns, she questioned the domination of the upper castes. She was a devotee of Lord Krishna and through her bhajans expressed her complete love and surrender to Lord Krishna. She composed her hymns and poems in Braj Bhasha and Rajasthani language. All the saint poets mentioned above emphasized love and brotherhood of man. Their religious teachings were based on humanism. There were no expensive and complicated rituals or ceremonies. They totally rejected caste system and wrote in the language of the common man. The Bhakti songs and the bhajans composed by them in regional languages are sung till today. Narsi Mehta was a poet saint of Gujarat and an exponent of Hindu devotional religious poetry in the Bhakti of Lord Vishnu. The Sufi movement. The counterpart of Bhakti movement was the Sufi movement in Islam. The Sufi saints called Pirs too believed in reaching God through love and devotion and in being kind and compassionate towards all the people. The Sufis were disgusted by the vulgar display of wealth and loss of moral values among the rich Muslims. They, like the Bhakti saints, spoke of a simple society free from greed, materialism, and advocated the theory of one God. Like the Bhakti poets, the Sufis too composed poems expressing their unconditional love to God and humanity. Many Sufi orders evolved in India. Gradually, the Sufis were organized into 12 orders or silsilas. The chief among them were the Suhrawardi and Chishti silsila. The silsila was led by a Sufi saint. These saints lived in their abodes or hospices called khankas, along with their disciples. Devotees of all classes from the ordinary people to the upper class nobility and even royalty regularly visited these khankas. In these khankas, there were open kitchens or langars. Khankas were open to all. When the Pir or the Sufi saint who was the head of the Khanqa, died, his grave would become a dargah and a center of pilgrimage. Sufi saints developed elaborate methods of training using zikr, chanting of the name or sacred formula contemplation, sama, singing, ragas, dancing, and discussion of parables. Thus, during the 15th and the 16th century, the Bhakti and Sufi saints had created a common platform on which people belonging to different castes, classes, and creeds could come together, understand each other, and develop a bond based on humanism and brotherhood.